slightly off guard and off balance, which is what that show's all about. Yes, sir?
Yes, I was wondering if you're planning on any more stage roles and any more musicals, maybe.
Musicals? Well, you know, singing is such a daunting thing. I actually thought maybe I could do with one of those companies of the Phantom of the Opera somewhere. You know, that's I haven't heard I haven't actually seen the show. I've heard the music. I think I can sing it perfectly well. So we'll see how that works out. I think that might be fun. Stage roles. Well, you know, an actor can't just be on the screen. You just don't get to improve yourself as an actor if you confine yourself to screen work. It's absolutely true. Unless you get a chance to really chow down on a role and really get to where you are owning this material, material that you work with in television and on the screen, you can't really say you own this stuff. I mean, you and it are strangers to each other in too many senses. So if you're really going to get somewhere as an actor, you've got to, even if you're just going to go out for a couple of weeks on a show or do some dinner theater or do some community, that doesn't matter what you do, but if you're a young actor coasting and going energetically from picture to picture, you've got to stop and do some stage work somehow. Something that will make you work just a little bit harder than you do. In the red shirt. What it was like working with Hitchcock. Well, I haven't talked about it here, so I'll go into it for a second. Yes, sir. You and Green will be right after this. Okay. So, but rest your hand because it makes me feel tired when you have it. Hitchcock was altogether a really good guy and a very, very patient co-worker and very generous collaborator. And it was one of the things I really treasured about working with him. Of course, he had the reputation for being different. He had a reputation, and has been written about it in a number of books to describe how fiendish he could be, and how difficult he could be, and how dictatorial, and all the many qualities he's been described as having. Qualities which often will put actors off, things which are difficult for actors to live with. But I'm not quite sure if, after all, he hadn't. You know, this was right in the beginning of the ascension of the actor as being a moving force in a movie. You know, up until that time, really, actors had done what they were told almost exclusively. The idea that an actor should have a voice was still a very unusual concept. I guess maybe the voice that Marlon Brando had when he was working with Elia Kazan was one of the strongest of voices, one of the earliest voices where people in movies said to each other, actors in movies, the stars in movies, said, well, gee, they seem to collaborate on this when they worked in on the war front. They seem to collaborate on this, and that was one of the things that kind of started that off. Anyway, by the time it got to Hitchcock's turn to be making Psycho, I had the idea he was just in the mood to try that out, to see how if it would work for him to work with an actor rather than have an actor just do his bidding. And I'm not so sure that wasn't the whole thing, and it wasn't why we didn't get along so well, because he was phenomenally open to suggestions and ideas and all kinds of input from me, and I've been led to believe he would be something of the opposite. So that was nice. Yes, sir.
Do you have any fond memories of working with Roger Moore and James Mason in Folks?
Okay, James Mason and Roger Moore in Folks, and what was it like? Well, you know, Roger's a shrewd character, and in those days he was making several pictures a year aside from those Bond pictures. He would work it out, so he would get top billing, and he'd have a big likeness clause. You know, nobody was in on the ad, but actually he would only show up and have to work for about a week out of 8 weeks, and maybe maybe a couple of days of that would be with his double. So he could just kind of sit around in the lobby and smoke cigars and read the paper and talk long distance and have fun. And then maybe for the last 3 days he'd come out and do some stuff. So to tell you the truth, we didn't get to see Roger much. You know, he did a lot of. They were talking with him, you know, on the phone, and they were a lot of it seemed to be put together. It was very deftly done. I admire that kind of manipulation of time. You know, an actor's time is so tremendously precious, and I think if you can work it out so that somehow the movie is working 8 weeks, but you can kind of waltz in there and really do a great job concentrating your stuff all in one. That's great. So, P.S. I didn't really get to know him that well, but he was such a gent. You know, he's the genuine urbane, confident, charming, generous of spirit, generous with his time and with his acting style. actor. Really, it's funny you would ask me about him because I had such a good the few days in that picture that I think we were only in one or two scenes together in the whole thing anyway. But he was around because I said he would be sitting there in the lobby and holding court. Nobody does it better than Roger. He's very, very funny. He has a wonderful string of anecdotes, and he can keep a group of people, strangers and friends, whoever, enthralled for just as long as he likes. Peter Ustinov is somebody else who can do that beautifully. Oh yeah, James Mason. Well, I've known James Mason. I knew him quite well from the previous projects. Haven't we been in other pictures together before that? Now, I'm not talking about The Last of Sheila, but didn't we appear in something together, James and I? Okay, I can't think of it if we did. But he was another fabulous gentleman. I mean, another really wonderfully warm and urbane and so what he has such wisdom about the show business, about movie acting, about literature and painting and art. Steve Sondheim, with whom I wrote The Last of Sheila, as you probably know, we were in such awe of him when we finally met James Mason. I mean, that was the big thing for us. That was bigger than having the movie bought and made into a film anyway, you know, and everyone else, just to see James Mason in the flesh. And in those days, I used to do a little bit of a James Mason imitation. We used to write his lines based on my imitation of him. One of the things he said when he read the script was he said, you know, this could have actually been almost written for the way I talk. Well, we didn't have the courage to tell him that, in fact, we had done it just about that way. Yes, sir, you're in the yellow. Yes, sir.
Have you ever, in your movies, enjoyed killing people?
Well, you know, I haven't done a lot of those killing people scenes. Let's see now. I mean, all the ones in any of the Psycho pictures, I didn't do any of those because once, well, wait a minute, no, wasn't there somebody that Norman actually killed in Psycho 2? Oh, her. Well, actually, I did enjoy it. I actually did enjoy it because it was so intelligently done. The way they rigged that stunt. And I also thought it was very, very intelligent and clever of Richard Franklin to get that together and work that out. I don't think that was in the original script. That was a contribution of Richard's wonderful one, too, because it's one of the scenes that people really remember. But there are people who really know their way around movie editing and cutting and special effects who cannot figure how that shot is done, how she gets that shovel so well and squirrely right in the head, which she in fact does. So I did enjoy. I enjoyed the art that it took to get that. Okay, who else did Norman really? What's his name? Dwayne Duke in Psycho. Well, he was bad. You know, we got into a fight. It was the crime of passion. Yes.
Can you comment on Fear Strikes Out, what it was like to work with Jimmy Piersall?
Well, to work with Jimmy Piersall in Fear Strikes Out, they kept us apart. They wouldn't let me meet Jimmy Piersall. It was all some kind of a deal where Jimmy Piersall was supposed to not to show up, and I wasn't. They thought it would influence me wrongly. I don't know. I never met Jimmy Piersall until many years after the picture came out. But I like the picture. It was. I was talking a little bit yesterday about Bob Mulligan, who directed it. Did a wonderful job, and I don't know. When you're young, you don't think about screen acting, and you're right in there having to do a major role. Every day is a real revelation. It's a nice way to work. Yes, sir. Right.
When they came to you with the idea of doing Psycho 2, they said, we want to do a Psycho 2, probably some ideas for maybe what should happen. Were you any difference between the actual final script and what you would have liked to see happen to Norman or with the story?
Well, I know that actually, if that had been the sequence of events, we're talking about Psycho 2 and how it happened, how it came to me, and did I have my own ideas versus those of the screenplay. The idea and the screenplay arrived on the same day, so it was just a clever way to do it. So it didn't give me a chance to sort of think up my own Psycho 2. And there have been several scripts of Psycho 2 and several scripts of Psycho 3, by the way, that have been mailed to me independently by people. I always make sure that I either don't read those or that I send them back, because of course the infringement on people's copyrights can be sometimes such a sticky thing to do. It turns out that, okay, you will be next. Is that a striped red thing you're wearing? I don't have my glasses on. I can't see any. That may be someone else's shoulder. I don't know. But there's red and white around you somewhere, and you'll be next. But I thought the story, we were discussing this slightly yesterday, the story of Psycho 2 was good for Norman because it kind of let him off the hook. You know, it showed that he was the victim of circumstance. Really in his life, in Psycho 1 as well as Psycho 2. Purists hate the phrase Psycho 1, by the way. I hope I'm not offending anybody. Using it's just for convenience. It's never that way on the printed page, but sometimes the words Psycho 1 do come out of my mouth. But some people really wince at that idea. They never want to hear that picture referred to any other way except with its own 5 or 6 letters. But I thought the story of Psycho 2 was quite good. I thought it depended a little bit too much on the end with there were too many phone conversations towards the end there with Meg Tilly and Norman. That whole thing went on too long. I mentioned that to the director. I said, don't you think this gets a little bit with her running upstairs and people being on the extension, one thing and another? And he said, no, that's the way he wanted it. That's fine. It was good enough for me. Yes, the red and white or whatever that is. Science fiction. I tell you, I really liked being in that. Why was the black hole? You know, it was sort of slow, that movie, wasn't it? It never really got off the ground. I remember we would be going through, we would be searching for Maximilian Schell, and we were really on a heavy chase for him, you know, and we'd be entering these cavernous sets, and we'd be kind of standing back, and the camera that was doing the blue screen or the rear projection, whatever system we were using that would then permit a beautiful painting to supply the top half of the screen. And we would kind of stop in our search, and several times I said to the producers and to the director, I said, you know, I know these sets are going to be beautiful, these drawings, these superimpositions, these process shots, they are, but don't, you know, isn't it more important that we try to find Maximilian Schell before we're all blown up into 10,000 pieces? I mean, the urgency of the story sometimes seemed to me to get a little bit forgotten. So, I don't know. I like all futuristic pictures. I mean, didn't Timothy Leary say that the worst movie about the future is better than the best movie about the past? Hey, I'll drink to that. Yes, sir.
Would you consider doing a script about Norman Bates as a child?
A prequel, you mean?
Yeah. Would that,
You mean, well, obviously I wouldn't be appearing in it. So, directing it? I don't know about prequels, you know. Which of those prequels have ever worked? I tell you, I think people got thrown off that Butch and Sundance the early years, you know. I think that kind of killed off a lot of prequels for a long time. Remember that picture? It was absolutely, didn't really latch on to. What are some of the other decent prequels? Well, I guess the second, is it the second or third Star Wars picture is a prequel or two?
There was supposed to be one that left.
Oh, okay.
Somebody built something or other.
So I don't know about it'd be a good story actually. Norman's adolescence. What? I can narrate it. I think it'd be Norman's adolescence. I think it'd be a pretty good story actually.
Excuse me, Anthony.
Yes.
Excuse me. I'm right here. Sorry to interrupt you. Our relative is here to visit you. We have a surprise guest. Yeah, your mom is here. Let's bring out Mom. Let's have a nice little welcome for Mom.
She looked quite like that in Psycho 1. Is this from Psycho 1?
Psycho 2.
This is from Psycho 2. Oh, I see. This must have been the
In the casket.
in the casket. How'd you acquire this? Who's this? Who belongs to this?
Michael McCracken.
Oh yeah, really? It's a good job, you know. With Psycho 3, it's amazing what people will agree to see and to accept. In Psycho 3, there are 3 different representations of Mother. There's the first one where she's sitting in the chair and Norman has a couple of scenes with her. Then there's a second one when she's overseeing the disposal of Dwayne Duke. That's an entirely different figure and an entirely different. Yeah.
Could you go stand by it? Stand by,
Well,
Mom.
it might get a little closer, but I'm not sure that I want to make a one-column shot. Just give me 1 second. And then at the very end, when she loses her head there to Norman's rage, that was a reshoot. That was an added sequence, and we had an entirely different makeup crew doing that. This is an excellent job, I think. Okay. Yes, sir, in the back of the blue hat. Orson Welles. I actually worked with him on several projects. He was so great. You know, I learned so much about everything, about show business and everything about how to be a grown-up. Actually, I tried to learn from him. Let's have a nice little welcome to Mom. She looks quite like that in Psycho 1. Is this from Psycho 1?
Psycho 2.
This is from Psycho 2. Oh, I see. This must have been in the casket. How'd you acquire this? Whose is this? Who belongs to this? Oh yeah, really? It's a good job, you know. With Psycho 3, it's amazing what people will agree to see and to accept. In Psycho 3, there are 3 different representations of Mother. There's the first one where she's sitting in the chair and Norman has a couple of scenes with her. Then there's a second one when she's overseeing the disposal of Dwayne Duke. That's an entirely different figure and an entirely different, yeah. Well, I might get a little closer, but I'm not sure that I'd want to make a one-column shot out of it. Just give me 1 second and I'll look. And then at the very end, when she loses her head there to Norman's rage, that was a reshoot. That was an added sequence, and we had an entirely different makeup crew doing that. This is an excellent job, I think. Okay. Yes, sir, in the back of the blue hat.
Yeah, what was it like working with Orson Welles in the trial?
Orson Welles. I actually worked with him on several projects. He was so great. You know, I learned so much about everything, about show business and everything about how to be a grown-up. Actually, I tried to learn from him, and I could have and virtually did keep a scrap of the things that he said to me, you know, quotes that I know that were minted in my presence alone. That's just old stuff, old kind of recycled.